So, have you heard about DeepSeek R1? It's
Oh,
causing
yeah,
quite a stir in the AI world.
definitely. It's that new open source AI model from China, right? What's so
Exactly.
special about it?
Well, it's being called a game changer because it matches or even exceeds the performance of top tier models like GPT-4, but it was
No way.
developed for under $6 million. dollars.
That's incredible. How did they manage to do that?
They're using some innovative techniques like model distillation.
hmm
It's like it's like training a smaller model using the knowledge of a larger one.
Oh, so kind of like an apprentice learning from a master?
Exactly. By distilling knowledge from massive models, they compressed advanced capabilities into a smaller, more accessible format. And get
Wow.
this, it can run on consumer grade hardware.
You're kidding. So you could potentially run it on a laptop?
Yeah, smaller variants at least. It
That's
really lowers the
amazing.
barrier to entry for AI development.
But doesn't that raise concerns about accuracy or reliability?
Well, there are trade offs.
Right.
Smaller models might struggle with the depth of knowledge found in larger systems and could be more prone to errors.
Makes sense, but the cost efficiency is hard to ignore.
Absolutely, it's shaking up the industry.
Yeah.
Stocks of companies like Nvidia and Microsoft even took a hit because of it.
Really? That's wild. So what does this mean for the big AI players?
It could force them to reconsider their strategies, maybe
hmm
focus more on efficiency rather than just scaling up.
Do you think we'll see more open source models like DeepSeek R1?
I think so. It's like the early days of personal computing,
Yeah,
smaller, more accessible technology disrupting the giants.
that's a great analogy. But aren't there concerns about governance and ethics, especially with open source AI?
Definitely. Transparency is a double edged sword. While it
Right.
allows for community scrutiny, it also means anyone can use it, potentially for malicious purposes.
That's a bit worrying. How about the geopolitical aspect?
Well, it's intensifying the AI race between the US and China.
hmm
DeepSeek R1 shows that China is making significant strides.
Do you think this could undermine the competitive advantage of US companies?
Possibly. It challenges the idea that you need massive budgets to achieve top tier AI performance. It's a real
Exactly.
paradigm shift.
But how reliable is DeepSeek R1 compared to models like GPT-4?
Early benchmarks are impressive, but it may not have the same depth or knowledge breadth.
Right?
Plus, any flaws in the larger models it learns from could trickle down.
So there's still room for improvement?
Absolutely. But the open source nature allows the community to help refine it.
That's true.
Collaboration could accelerate its development.
It's exciting, but also a bit concerning. Do you think ethical guidelines are keeping pace?
Honestly, probably not as fast as they should. Rapid
Yeah.
innovation often outpaces regulation.
So we need to be cautious while embracing these advancements.
Exactly. It's a balancing act between innovation and responsibility. But
Well
overall,
said.
it's an exciting development in AI.
Agreed. I can't wait to see how this influences the industry moving forward.
Me too. It's like we're witnessing a pivotal moment in AI history. The
Absolutely.
future possibilities are endless.
Do you think this will push more companies to open source their models?
It might. The pressure to
hmm
innovate and stay competitive could lead to more openness.
That could really democratize AI technology.
Exactly. Making advanced AI accessible to everyone could spur incredible innovations. It's an
Definitely.
exciting time to be in the field.
Well, here's to seeing where this all leads.
Cheers to that. The AI
Yeah.
evolution is just getting started.
Interesting. I'm really intrigued by this. So, what's so special about DeepSeek R1?
Well, it's being called a Sputnik moment for AI.
Wow,
Just like how Sputnik challenged the US in the space race, DeepSeek R1 is shaking up the AI landscape.
that's quite a comparison. So, it matches up with models like GPT-4?
Exactly. And here's the kicker. It was developed for under $6 million, dollars,
No
which is
way.
a fraction of what companies like OpenAI spend.
That's incredible. How did they manage to achieve that?
It's all about efficiency. They use techniques like model distillation, where
Right.
they train smaller models using the outputs of larger ones.
So, it's like an apprentice learning from a master craftsman?
Exactly. By distilling knowledge from massive models, like GPT-4, DeepSeek R1 compresses advanced capabilities into a smaller, more accessible format.
That's impressive. And that means it doesn't need massive data centers or high end GPUs.
You've got it. Smaller variants can even run on consumer-grade hardware like
That's
laptops or
amazing.
entry-level GPUs.
This could really democratize AI development, right?
Absolutely. It lowers the barrier to entry for AI,
Definitely.
allowing researchers, hobbyists, and smaller organizations to compete with the big players.
But are there any trade-offs? I mean, does it compromise on performance?
Well, there are some limitations. Smaller models may struggle with the depth and breadth of knowledge found in larger systems, and they
Makes
can be more
sense.
prone to errors.
So they rely heavily on the quality of the training data?
Exactly. Any flaws in the larger models could trickle down into DeepSeek R1,
I
but
see.
overall, it's a significant achievement.
And being open source, it allows for transparency, right?
Yes, developers can uncover potential biases or limitations
Right.
and work on improving them.
So how has the industry reacted to this?
Well, it's really shaken things up. Stocks of companies like Nvidia and Microsoft have been affected because
Really?
DeepSeek R1 offers cost-efficient AI development.
That's wild. So big players are feeling the heat?
Exactly. It's challenging the status quo and forcing companies to rethink their strategies.
Interesting. Do you think this could undermine US companies' competitive advantages?
It's possible. Open source models like DeepSeek R1 could enable global developers to innovate at a fraction of the
Yeah,
cost, impacting revenue streams for companies relying on licensing or subscriptions.
but isn't that good for the AI ecosystem overall?
In many ways, yes. It could lead to a more accessible and decentralized AI
Definitely.
ecosystem, fostering innovation and collaboration.
I guess it's reminiscent of the early days of personal computing.
Exactly. Back then, smaller PCs disrupted an industry dominated by mainframes.
Right.
DeepSeek R1 could have a similar impact on AI.
So we might see AI models tailored to specific industries running on local hardware?
That's the vision. Imagine enhanced privacy and control with
That
AI
would be
embedded
great.
in everyday devices like smartphones.
That's exciting, but what about challenges and implications?
There are definitely challenges. Reliability in real-world applications is
Sure.
one, and continuing to innovate in a highly competitive field is another.
And for American AI companies?
They face a dual threat, maintaining technological leadership while justifying the premium costs of their proprietary systems.
Tough spot? Open source models could undercut them?
Exactly. It could impact their revenue streams and reduce demand for US developed AI models.
But don't you think that proprietary models still have advantages, like superior performance and support?
That's a fair point. They do offer certain benefits, but the gap is
Yeah.
narrowing as open source models improve.
Do you think DeepSeek R1 could influence AI policies and strategies globally?
Absolutely. It's a wake-up call that innovation isn't always about having the biggest budget. It's about doing things differently.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. So, what's next for DeepSeek R1?
We'll have to see how it performs in real-world applications and how
Right.
the community adopts and builds upon it.
I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. It's an exciting time for AI.
It really is, and who knows? Maybe we'll see more breakthroughs like this in the near future.
Let's hope so.
Well, it's been likened to a Sputnik moment. It's matching,
Seriously?
even exceeding, the performance of models like GPT-4, but it was developed for under 6 million.
Under 6 million, but companies like OpenAI are spending billions. How did they pull that off?
They're using some clever strategies like model distillation and chain of thought reasoning. It's like they've managed to compress a huge brain into a smaller, efficient package.
So it's like fitting an elephant into a Mini Cooper?
Ha! Exactly. And they did it without the high-end hardware.
No way.
They optimized their algorithms to work with less advanced GPUs.
That's impressive, but does it really perform on par with GPT-4?
According to benchmarks, yes. In fact, in areas like math and coding, it even outperforms GPT-4. They've used
Wow.
innovative training methods like reinforcement learning without supervision.
Wait, how does that work?
It's fascinating. Instead of being spoon-fed solutions, the model learns by exploring and trying different approaches.
So it's like
Exactly.
self-teaching? That's cool, but doesn't that risk the model learning wrong patterns?
There's that risk, yeah.
Right.
But by generating multiple outputs and rewarding the successful ones, it gradually improves.
Kind of like how we learn from trial and error.
Exactly. And because it's open source, developers can tweak and improve it further.
That's huge.
It opens up AI development to a wider community.
But hold on, isn't there a concern about transparency and ethics? I mean, models developed in China might have biases or censorship.
That's a fair point. There
Yeah.
are concerns about compliance with state regulations, which could include censorship or propaganda.
So while it's technically impressive, there are layers of complexity in adopting it globally.
Definitely. It's not just about the technology, but also about governance and ethics.
Exactly.
Companies would need to consider these factors.
And what about security? There were reports of DeepSeek facing cyber attacks. Should we be worried?
Cybersecurity is a big issue. An open
Mm-hmm.
source model can be more transparent but also more vulnerable if not properly secured.
It seems like a double-edged sword.
It is. There's potential for great innovation but also for misuse. It's a balancing
Right.
act.
Speaking of balancing, how are US companies reacting to this?
Well, it's causing a stir. Stocks of big players dipped, and there's pressure to reconsider strategies.
Wow.
The idea that a small team could achieve this with less money is challenging the status quo.
Do you think this will push US companies to open up more?
Possibly. It might encourage more collaboration and focus on efficiency over sheer
Makes
spending.
sense.
Innovation isn't always tied to budget size.
But I have to wonder, is there a chance this is overhyped? Maybe their claims are exaggerated?
That's a valid skepticism.
Yeah.
In the tech world, companies often make bold claims, and without independent verification, it's hard to be certain.
So we should take this with a grain of salt?
Perhaps, but even so, it's a wake-up call.
Definitely.
It shows that innovation can come from unexpected places.
True, and it might spur healthy competition.
Exactly, and that could lead to better technologies for everyone.
Let's hope so.
But we're in for an interesting ride,
No doubt, the AI landscape is evolving quickly.
and we're witnessing it firsthand. It's an
Indeed.
exciting time to be involved in tech.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see how this unfolds. What's got you so pumped?
Oh man, it's being called China's Sputnik moment in AI.
Really?
Yeah, it's an open source AI model that reportedly matches or even outperforms models like GPT-4. But get this, it was developed for under $6 million.
Wait, under $6 million? That's peanuts compared to what companies like OpenAI are spending.
Exactly. Companies like OpenAI and Google are pouring billions into AI development, but DeepSeek R1 is changing the game. It's like they built a Ferrari with spare parts.
That's wild. How did they pull that off without NVIDIA's latest chips?
They used innovative techniques like model distillation, training smaller models using the outputs of larger ones. So instead of needing massive data centers, they're compressing that power into something that can even run on laptops.
Wow, so this could democratize AI in a big way.
Absolutely. It lowers the barrier to entry, so researchers and small organizations can dive in without breaking the bank.
But hold on, are there any downsides? I mean, smaller models might have limitations, right?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Smaller models like DeepSeek R1 might not have the same depth of knowledge and could be prone to errors. They rely heavily on the quality of their training data, so any flaws could trickle down.
So it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but still, the impact could be huge.
Definitely. It's shaking up the AI landscape. And it's not just the tech, it's affecting markets too. Stocks for companies like Nvidia and Microsoft took a hit after the news.
Really, investors are that spooked?
Seems like it. The idea that a relatively unknown lab could achieve this with minimal resources is making big players rethink their strategies.
It's like the AI version of the tortoise and the hare.
Haha, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about performance, it's also about accessibility and open source collaboration.
Speaking of open source, how does that play into all this?
Well, because DeepSeek R1 is open source, developers worldwide can access, scrutinize, and build upon it. This transparency could lead to rapid innovation.
But doesn't that also raise concerns about security and misuse?
It does. Open source models can be double-edged swords. While they promote innovation, they can also be used maliciously if not properly regulated.
Right, and with the geopolitical tensions, especially between the US and China, this adds another layer of complexity.
Exactly. Some are worried about data privacy and the potential for state influence over these technologies.
Do you think this could undermine US tech companies' competitive edge?
It's possible. If open source models like DeepSeek R1 continue to advance, they could undercut companies that rely on proprietary models and expensive subscriptions.
That could reshape the whole industry, but maybe it'll push everyone to innovate faster.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Competition often drives progress, and ultimately, users benefit from better and more affordable technology.
But let's switch gears for a moment. I heard there were some concerns about cybersecurity related to DeepSeek. What's that about?
Ah, yes. DeepSeek faced a significant cyber attack recently, which raised some eyebrows about data security and the risks of open source platforms.
So while they're making strides in AI, they're also facing challenges in securing their platform.
Exactly. It's a reminder that innovation needs to be balanced with robust security measures.
Agreed. And you mentioned earlier the Sputnik moment. Do you really think this is that significant?
I do. Just like Sputnik spurred the US into accelerating the space race, DeepSeek R1 could be the catalyst for a new era in AI competition and collaboration.
That's exciting, but also a bit daunting.
Yeah,
Do you think the US companies will adapt quickly enough?
they might have to. This could prompt them to reconsider their approaches to AI development, perhaps embracing more open source collaborations.
It could also lead to policy changes, maybe even more investment in computational infrastructure here at home.
Definitely. The need for advanced infrastructure is critical if we want to keep pace.
So, wrapping up, what's your takeaway from all this?
Well, it's clear that innovation doesn't always come from the biggest budgets. DeepSeek
Right.
R1 shows that resourcefulness and new approaches can disrupt entire industries.
And perhaps it reminds us that collaboration and openness can be powerful drivers of progress.
Well said. Here's to hoping that this sparks a new wave of innovation that's beneficial for everyone.
Cheers to that. Can't wait to see where this all leads. Oh, really? What makes it so special?
Get this. It reportedly matches or even exceeds the performance of models like GPT-4, but it was
No way.
developed for under $6 million.
Under 6 million? That's insane compared to the billions others spend.
Exactly. They've managed to
Wow.
create a high-performing AI at a fraction of the cost.
How did they pull that off?
They use something called model distillation. It's like teaching a smaller model to mimic a larger one.
So, kind of like an apprentice learning from a master craftsman?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The smaller
Got it.
model learns from the outputs of the larger ones.
That's clever. Does it mean we can run advanced AI on less powerful hardware?
Exactly. DeepSeek R1 can run on consumer-grade hardware like laptops
Really?
or basic GPUs.
That could democratize AI access, right?
Yeah, it lowers the barrier to entry, which is huge for researchers and smaller organizations.
Definitely. But wait, doesn't that also pose some risks?
How do you mean?
Well, if powerful AI becomes widely accessible, couldn't it be misused?
That's a valid point. Open source models do raise concerns about security and misuse.
Exactly. So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. We need to balance accessibility with responsible use.
Yeah, right. Also, how does this affect big companies like NVIDIA?
Well, their stocks dipped because if models like DeepSeek R1 reduce the need for high-end GPUs, demand for
Makes
their
sense.
products could decline.
That could shake up the entire hardware industry.
It could. It's making companies
Hmm.
rethink their strategies, focusing more on efficiency.
Do you think this will push the AI giants to be more innovative?
Hopefully, competition
Fingers
often
crossed.
drives innovation, and this could be a catalyst.
Speaking of competition, does this change the global AI landscape?
Definitely. China's advancements with DeepSeek R1 are prompting other countries to reassess their positions.
I see. Maybe this will lead to more international collaboration or maybe more competition.
Probably a bit of both. The AI race is heating up.
No doubt. But I wonder, can these smaller models really match the capabilities of larger ones in all areas?
Well, there are trade-offs. They
Like?
might not have the same depth of knowledge, and accuracy could be an issue.
So maybe they're not ready to replace the big models just yet.
Not entirely, but they offer a viable alternative for many applications.
Fair enough. It's exciting to see innovation from new places.
Absolutely, it's like a breath of fresh air in the industry.
Totally. Haha, yeah. And who doesn't love a good underdog story?
Right, it's inspiring and could lead to more breakthroughs.
Agreed. So what's next for DeepSeek R1?
I think we'll see more development and perhaps other organizations adopting similar techniques.
Exciting. It'll be interesting to watch how the big players respond.
Definitely. The landscape is shifting and everyone has to adapt. It reportedly matches or even exceeds the performance of models like OpenAI's GPT-4, but it was developed for under $6 million.
No way. Wait, under 6 million? That's a fraction of what big companies are spending.
Exactly. Companies like OpenAI and Google are pouring billions into their AI models. DeepSeek R1 is like building a Ferrari out of spare parts in your garage.
That's incredible. How did they manage that?
They used innovative techniques like model distillation. It's like teaching an apprentice using the knowledge of a master craftsman.
Gotcha.
They trained smaller models using outputs from larger ones.
So they're compressing advanced capabilities into a smaller package?
Exactly. And because of that, DeepSeek R1 doesn't need massive data centers or high-end GPUs. Smaller versions can even run on consumer-grade hardware.
Seriously? That's a game changer for accessibility.
Yeah, it lowers the barrier to entry for AI development. Now, researchers and smaller organizations can get involved without huge budgets.
But are there any trade-offs? I mean, can a smaller model really compete with the big guys?
Well, there are some limitations. Smaller models might struggle with the depth and breadth of knowledge that larger systems have. They're also more prone to errors and rely heavily on the quality of the training
Makes
data.
sense. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows then.
True, but the potential benefits are huge. It could democratize AI innovation, allowing more people to contribute and compete.
I can see that. But doesn't this pose a threat to companies like Nvidia and Microsoft?
It does shake things up. Their stocks even took a hit after the news.
Wow.
The cost efficiency of DeepSeek R1 challenges the high expenditure models.
I bet they're rethinking their strategies now.
Probably, this could lead to a shift in the AI landscape, moving towards more efficient and accessible models.
You know, this reminds me of the early days of personal computing when PCs disrupted the mainframe industry.
Exactly. It's like history repeating itself. Smaller, more accessible technology changing the game.
But do you think DeepSeek R1 will impact the dominance of US tech companies?
It certainly could. Open source models like this can undercut US firms by allowing global developers to innovate at a fraction of the cost.
That could mean a lot more competition worldwide.
Yeah, and it's not just about competition. There's also the aspect of transparency. Because it's open source, developers can identify potential biases or limitations.
That's a big advantage. Users can trust and verify what's going on under the hood.
Precisely. But on the flip side, there's the risk of misuse or ethical concerns with open source AI.
True, there's always that risk. We need proper guidelines and oversight.
Definitely, it's a double-edged sword. But overall, DeepSeek R1 is pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
So, where do you think this leads the AI industry?
Well, it's like we're at a crossroads. Companies might need to adapt, focusing on efficiency and accessibility rather than just scaling up with massive budgets.
And that could lead to more innovation across the board.
Exactly. Imagine AI models tailored to specific industries, running on local hardware for enhanced privacy and control.
Or even embedded in everyday devices like our smartphones.
Yes, DeepSeek R1 is bringing that vision closer to reality.
It's exciting, but also a bit daunting.
I know what you mean. Change always comes with uncertainties.
But hey, if it leads to more people having access to powerful AI tools, that's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. Democratizing technology can unlock so much potential.
So, what's next? Do you think we'll see more models like DeepSeek R1 popping up?
I wouldn't be surprised. This could inspire others to explore similar approaches. It's an exciting time for AI development.
Definitely. I'll be keeping an eye on how this unfolds.
Same here. It's like we're witnessing the next big shift in tech.
Well, here's to the future. Let's hope it's as promising as it sounds.
Cheers to that.